So, for those of you not aware, late yesterday, more like middle of the day yesterday, news stories started breaking about Assassin's Creed Mirage and how it had an adults only rating. And this was shown off in the official trailer, like during the live stream, they had the AO rating on the screen. They also had on the Xbox store a description of why the game was rated the way that it was. But basically, it appeared on the Xbox store. Let's see if this actually goes to it. They might have removed it by now. Yeah, so they changed it to RP, rating pending, most likely mature, is what they said, allegedly. But on the page prior to that was a description of a very intense rating. Oh, thank you for the sub, Syorshkov, maybe. And also thank you to It's Rock for the sub, and Imperium also. Thank you guys for the subs. I appreciate you. So this stuff came out, and basically it was like, holy crap, the game has been rated adults only for like violence, partial nudity, stuff like that you would kind of expect for an Assassin's Creed game. And then the last thing they said was real gambling. So that obviously kind of irked some people. They were like, holy shit, you put real gambling, like with actual money? Because I don't know if you know, in order to get an adults only rating for gambling, you have to be gambling with real money, or actual currency or something directly tied to it that's liquid. So what that would effectively mean for Mirage, and what most people thought it meant, was that it was going to include the NFTs that Ubisoft announced a while ago. Yeah, thank you, Rock. This is the tweet from Dextero, and this is a screen capture from the Xbox website listing the game. And you can see it was rated adults only, 18 plus, intense violence, blood and gore, sexual themes, partial nudity, what you would expect for a game like this. And then real gambling. And if you look on the ESRB's website, real gambling is described as gambling with actual currency and things that can actually be basically exchanged for real money. So any casino game, any of those that are adults only, those are rated that way because it's actual currency. So people thought that this was NFT related, that basically you'd be able to like buy a skin and then maybe gamble with it, and then you could sell that skin to other players, things like that. It obviously irked a lot of people, and a lot of us were very confused by this. Like, how does this just happen? There were some red flags, let me be clear. First and foremost, this game is still like 6+ months out. It's not expected to release until April or May, maybe even June. So this is a ways out, and it's not common to get a full game rating until, of course, the game is done. And so it's not common to get it this early. So it was strange to begin with that it had a rating listed on it. That was weird. But it was so specific, and it was an adults only rating, which never happens, that it just came off as weird. And what's even stranger is that adults only games cannot be sold through like PlayStation and through Xbox. So it's even weirder that this rating would be listed on Microsoft's website for Xbox. Like the whole thing is really, really, really weird. Well, this morning came around. Ubisoft didn't respond to this yesterday because, of course, nobody was in the office. So there was no like way, I guess, for them to respond. I guess they don't have PR people on call. So they posted a follow-up. Let me see, where is it? There. They posted a follow-up in a response basically to gamesindustry.biz, where they said that the rating is still pending despite the showcase prefaced by an adults only logo and Xbox store page with gambling content descriptors. It gets weirder. Ubisoft has said AO for adults only ratings appearing on Assassin's Creed Mirage store pages this weekend were a mistake. The game was announced Saturday during Ubisoft's Forward Showcase event, the live stream of which was prefaced by an ESRB AO for adults only logo. Let me see if, yeah, they tagged it. Good. So you see right here, the show starts. They showed an adults only tag, which you have to do if you're going to show off an adults only game. So the whole marketing team that put this thing together understood that there was an adults only game, and the only game that they showed off in this whole event that could even be considered to be adults only, and certainly that has received an adults only rating listing, was Assassin's Creed Mirage. So it's weird. It goes on. An Xbox store listing for Mirage also carried an adults only rating with content descriptors for violence, blood and gore, sexual themes, personal nudity, real gambling. And they said, Ubisoft said officially, following the announcement of AC Mirage during Ubisoft Forward, some store pages mistakenly displayed the game for pre-order with adults only ESRB rating and are being fixed. While Assassin's Creed Mirage is still pending its rating, Ubisoft wants to reassure players that no real gambling or loot boxes are present in the game. The publisher did not explain how the AO rating found its way onto the official Ubisoft Forward live stream, though. AO ratings are exceedingly rare in recent years. A game has not actually launched with one since 2015's Hatred, which was a game where you basically run around shooting people. You can look it up. It's just like, it's not great. It's just like, it's a problem when like the one claim to fame for your game is that it was the one game that had like an extremely tough rating, slapped on it. Lies, slander. I thought it was like very bland and it just wasn't cool. The character design is also hilariously bad, in my humble opinion. One of the reasons for the rarity is a reluctance from retailers and digital storefronts to carry games with an AO rating, and policies from Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft to not allow AO rated games to be released on their platforms. Once again, this was shown off on a Microsoft listing for AC Mirage, which is weird. So what does all of this mean? Like, what the hell is going on? The way I look at it, there's a few possibilities. For one, it's possible that Ubisoft just somehow miscommunicated to the marketing teams that AC Mirage was going to be adults only for gambling and violence and those things. And then the marketing team took that, and on the store listings that they published, they put the AO rating on there. And then for the event, they prefaced it with the adults only tag beforehand. And so somebody just miscommunicated and told the marketing team that this was going to be adults only. The only way that happens is if it's somebody very high up. And then you've got to ask, why the hell did they tell the marketing team? Like, how could they possibly mess that up? Adults only is like a big deal to have a major AAA release rated that way. So that's very, very strange to see that. I don't know. I don't think that's super likely because I just can't imagine that somebody would be that incompetent to just, especially in higher leadership. I just don't think they would make that mistake. The second possibility is that the marketing team just went AWOL, made an oopsie, and then somebody was like, oh, it's going to be adults only. I heard that, and we'll just put that on the like placeholder. That's what we'll do. But that's weird, because why would you put as a placeholder that it contains real gambling? It's so specific, the things that were described. I don't understand how you just accidentally not just post adults only. Like, if this was all that was here and then none of this was here, I'd be like, okay, maybe it was just a weird placeholder. They mixed it up. They were supposed to put like M as the placeholder, but instead they put it like this. But they have very specific descriptions, which is weird. That to me doesn't tell me that was just an oopsie daisy. Somebody high up described these things and had them place it. It's weird. Another possibility is that the game, this is total speculation for the record. I do not know how like the process of getting your game rated by the ESRB works. I don't know if they are brought in like 6 months before the game releases to see what the game generally looks like, and then they do a final approval of the rating closer to launch. I don't know if they get to play the whole game or if they just rely on what the publisher tells them about the game. I don't know. But what could be the case is that the ESRB looked at the info Ubisoft provided them for how the game worked and the things that were put in the game, and they said if the game is remaining in its current state, it will be rated adults only. And that needs to be your placeholder, because as it stands, it's adults only, because they have this NFT thing built in. So with all this, like, I think what could have happened is that was basically the placeholder, because the ESRB was like, listen, you have these NFTs. If they stay in the game in their current form, it's adults only, because you can like trade NFTs and that constitutes gaming or gambling. And so that's what we're doing. And if they said that, then like I'm sure Ubisoft then would be like, okay, well, as the game currently stands, it's adults only, so we have to put adults only flags in the marketing materials, but we'll change the game prior to launch and whittle it down so it hits the M rating, and we'll just tweak how the NFT stuff works so that we don't get flagged as adults only. And then in that mess, somebody in the marketing team took the placeholder warning for the game as is and accidentally put that on the store listing instead of keeping that blank, putting it back to rating pending. I don't know. The whole thing is bizarre. The whole thing is very bizarre. And it's not a common accident. You know, it was like, it's so specific, the real gambling tagline. It would be like if somebody posted like a news story, like say like CNN comes out with a news publication, or the Wall Street Journal or somebody. Let's say, well, it's Tom Brady. Let's use Tom Brady. We'll say it's ESPN. ESPN, pretty reputable for sports stuff. They come out and they say Tom Brady is taking 3 weeks off of the season because he was attacked by a rabid duck, which severed his finger, and he had to reattach it with super glue and wart remover spray. And it worked, but it's on backwards. Either way, he can still throw a football. He'll be back in 3 weeks. You'd be like, that's so specific and not usual. That's weird. That's very weird. And then they come out, ESPN's like, yeah, sorry, we just total oopsie. We just don't know what happened. Oof, somebody dropped the ball. You'd be like, that was so specific. How the hell did that happen? Like, what? And that's where I'm at with this adults only thing. It's so specific that it just, to me, I really struggle with the idea that this was just a series of unfortunate events and oopsies. This is so bizarre. I think the game probably does have NFT stuff built in for cosmetics. They probably have a secondary marketplace in the game where you can sell them and trade them. The ESRB was like, hey, this is basically gambling. You can't do that. Otherwise, it's adults only. And so Ubisoft now is scrambling to rework it, but they can still say publicly, hey, there's no loot boxes and there's no gambling. It's just this other thing we're doing they classify as gambling, but like there's not gambling in the game. You know, it's just different. And so I would bet that that's what's going on. I think that the fact that Ubisoft's like NFT marketplace quartz or whatever hasn't really launched yet, and this would be the first game when they could really do it, it lines up too perfectly for me. So for me, I think that that's probably what happened. I think this is like a placeholder rating for what the game is like right now, and they are scrambling to try to get this back down to an M and rework the NFT stuff to get there. To be fair, that is complete, like, speculation, but that's my personal opinion.